and we should be able to proceed further without any issues. I will show you some examples of what we have discussed so far. I'll just show you how we can run the Perl program. So initially, if at all we see in the command prompt that you see on the screen, for example, I have installed a Perl already in my PC. So now, as long as this particular Perl executable is stored as part of the global variable, your environmental variables, we will be able to use this keyword Perl from anywhere in the command line, from anywhere in the sense, from any directory. It could be this directory or it could be just any other directory. Okay, so now just for ease, now my Perl files, whatever we have developed, for example, I have stored in this directory. So now I am in that particular directory to execute a Perl file. So what is the general syntax as we discussed? Perl, the file name, which is ending with .pl, and if there are any inputs to that, I can give that as input. If there are no inputs to that file, we can directly execute that file. That's how it is. So now let me show you what the test.pl is having. Earlier I have shown you on the notepad. Okay, so this is a program which says while, okay, it's a very simple example that we have, while, and then we have already seen this is a diamond symbol which will accept a file as an input, and then it will try to read the file till end of the file, because we also have seen what is a control statement, like the while loops we have seen. Then we also seen if statement, if else statement we have seen. So it is this program is a combination of that. So while of a diamond symbol means it is expecting some input here. So when I give some input here, if at all, let's say the input is a file, so till end of the file, this particular loop will run, the while loop. So while syntax was like while a control statement or an expression here, then a block of code, what your logic is. Now what will happen? As long as, so a while here, a diamond symbol, and then okay, and then we have a chomp which we have already seen. So what is the advantage of chomp? I have already used a hash symbol here. What does the hash indicate? It gives the comments. We can write the comment what that particular line means or what that function means. All such things we can have a more readability whenever, as a good developer, we add some comments to our code. So now chomp, what does it do? Actually, whatever the input that we are giving here, if that particular file, let's say I'm giving the input here as a file, I will show you how I'm doing that. And now once I give that, automatically what will happen is it will chomp the new line characters, because for a new line character may not be necessary. Generally, new line characters are by default embedded. Whenever we are typing something, by default we press an enter key in the file and then we type the new line and then we save it, correct? Therefore, whenever we give it, that new line characters are always not necessary, and sometimes they may have a different meaning to the compilers. So therefore it is always good to chomp, or chomp is like cutting it off. So cut out that new line character. So here I have written a comment what a chomp does. Chomp avoids a new line of the last field. So we can give chomp like this. Otherwise, we can also give some variable as an input. Like chomp is a function, so it can also take some variables like that. So I can use braces and give, for example, $a. So $a is, for example, a scalar, which I have already defined earlier. For this example, now I don't have a $a. I'm just telling you the ways we can use chomp. And now what we are doing, we are giving a series of inputs here, maybe from a file. So now after the new line, all the lines are chomped with the new line character. So they become free from the new line. New line is otherwise called as an enter key in your keyboard. Whenever you're typing something, we enter the new key, enter key, right? So that is a new line. So now that we can always take it as a my @array. So @ is what? @ indicates that it is a scalar variable of the type array. Now there is another function I'm using here called split. So what does that do? It will check in that function if there is any colon. Okay, if there is anything something like colon here in the file, and it will split those strings with respect to or based on this colon. For example, if I say Bala colon Krishna colon hello, for example, so all these words will be this particular line, if it is given in a file, it will split based on that colon, and then it will print the values that we want. So now let us run this program and see. So here, before I proceed, I will also show you what is the input file that we are giving here. So I have a name.txt file which I'll be giving as an input. So name, as I already discussed, I will be using some names like Bala, Krishna, hello and stuff. So now how does it take and then print it? Let's see. So I'll share the terminal window so that how I'm executing, you'll be able to see that. So now, yeah, now the terminal window is there. So now how I'm doing it, as I told you earlier. So I just first type Perl. If I do, so don't worry about this command. There's a Linux window terminal. So to list all the files, I'm doing ls, which is a Linux command. So now what I do is Perl. Now what is the name of my file? It's a test.pl. Okay, I have saved it as test.pl. Now, what are the names I am trying to give it is like names.txt is a file. So how does that file look? Let me show you. I just stored some names in that file. Just I'm using the notepad for displaying everything for a quick ease. So if I just use my notepad here and show you. Yeah, now you see the notepad. For example, in my file, which is a test dot, name.txt file, which I will be giving as an input. In this file, my inputs are like this: Bala, Krishna, hello, some text like this. So this is how my input file will be looking like. The data inside my input file is like this. Okay. Now let us go back to the terminal and execute and see what is the output that we get. The moment I say Perl test.pl and name.txt is my input. So what is it giving? It is chomping all the new line characters and it gives the input. The output, sorry. Okay, so whatever is there in that file, we are trying to display it. So that's what the earlier program was. So what it is doing, while condition was there, so it is trying to check the input file, which is name.txt, and it is reading that file until the end of the file and trying to chomp all the characters, the new line characters inside that file and print. So that's what we have seen. Okay. Similarly, we also have a function in that file which was talking about split. So what does a split do? If there is anything with respect to that syntax, that string that we give, it will try to chomp with respect to that particular character. So let me show you the another one. for example. So let me show you the process names.pl code, what is written in that file. So we have also dealt, as in the previous class, how a lowercase letter is converted to an uppercase, and different UC function, LC functions, all we have seen. So we'll just see a small glimpse of how does that work. So this is actually a simple program which will help us to illustrate the usage of arrays. So for example, in that file, I have taken a text file where I have given Bala, colon, Krishna, for example, all in the lowercase. Now what should happen if at all we run this particular program? So the program, what I'm going to show you now is here. So here, what does this process names.pl do? A simple program to illustrate the use of array. So input a file specified on the command line of the line of text, where each line is a personal name. Now output, the input names after all the letters are converted to an uppercase in alphabetical order. So that's what we are going to see now. So what is the program is saying? $index is equal to 0. So $index, whenever we say, it is some variable, a scalar variable. Now what is he doing? He is trying to loop to read the names and process them. So what is it? How are we going to loop it? Earlier example also we have discussed how a while loop works. While $name of a diamond symbol. So here it is expecting a series of inputs or a file as an input here. So now converts the name letters to uppercase and put it in the names array. So now what is happening here? He is using $name. Actually, he did not use @ but still he is telling it is a name array, because here we are assigning it to a different scalar elements, and in the scalar context even an array is referred as $. Okay, and that is the reason if you see here, it is not using @ names. He is using $name of, and he is incrementing the index, because an array has a index starting from 0 to n-1, where n is the size of the array. If the array size is 4, then the index is 0, 1, 2, 3. That's what we discussed earlier. Now here the name, here if you see, right, UC, what was this? We were trying to discuss that this is the different functions that we have: LC, UC, lowercase, uppercase. We can convert this. These are different functions which are used or to operate on the strings. So here $name is a string, because each file when it reads, so it is a string here. I mean, each line when it reads from the file, it is a string, and therefore it is going to convert that into an uppercase. So now what it does, it is going to print. How does it print? Again, we have already just discussed in today's beginning of today's class what is for each. So what he is doing, he is using a function called sort, which will do a sorting of the array in alphabetical order, and then it is trying to take name, means each name from this particular array, and it is going to print that. Now in my earlier file that we have seen, I have shown you just one name like Bala, colon, Krishnan. That's what I have written, right? Let's try to add some more names to that file, so that we'll see how the output looks. So let me show you the student.txt. And now we'll try to add some more names. So I'll try to say hello. So the moment I am typing enter key here, you will see that automatically a new line character is also being added. So I'll say, let's say JNTU, JNTU. If I am only giving an uppercase letter, what will happen? We'll see. I'll also give capital B, small uppercase. We'll give a combination of a string with a combination of uppercase as well as lowercase. Now I am saving this file. I hope all this file, what I'm typing, you are able to see that. Now let's share the terminal so that we'll see how we are executing that. So earlier I already have discussed. So Perl is the name of the the language that we are using, because it has got an executable inside. Once you install it, then here the input to that is the name of the file that we want to run. So I already have stored this name as process_names.pl. Okay, and then I'm giving student.txt, the file that we just edited. And now when I give it, if you see the output, all the strings are converted to an uppercase, irrespective of whether it is a mix of uppercase or lowercase, or it's all lowercase or all uppercase, or even a mix of it, because the function that we were using is UC. What is UC? Uppercase. So uppercase of each string, it converts whatever it is, whether it is lowercase or existing uppercase, it still remains in all uppercase. That's where you will see that all your output is in uppercase. This is how you can do some different operations using the inbuilt functions, using the control statements, as well as using different inbuilt functions. Okay, now we'll proceed to hashes, and because this is a part of the previous class that we have discussed, now we'll proceed to the new concept of hashes and see how we can proceed. Okay, now the moment we see this in this particular file, I have given Perl process names.pl student.txt. So now in this student.txt, I have given a different combination of strings, some in lowercase, some in uppercase, some is a mix of it. And then the moment I execute this, you will see that all the strings are in uppercase, irrespective of what they were in the original file. How are they in the original file? Let me show you the original file as well quickly, so that you will see or you'll notice what it was. So here if you see, we have very clearly seen here all lowercase, here still lowercase, here lowercase. This string hello is all in uppercase. The string here Bhaskar is in a mix of uppercase and lowercase. So but still you see here. And also if you have observed the output very clearly, right, it is starting with B, then hello, hello, and then JNDU, for example, here. So what is happening here? It is sorting everything in alphabetical order, because we have used a function sort as well. So that's the advantage of it. So we don't have to worry on it. Okay. So similarly, if you at all we are giving all this input, right, as an array, still it's going to take that and then it will process your array. So hope you all got this example clear. So let's proceed with hashes as well. Okay, so I just discussed today as already that hashes are nothing but they are also called as associative arrays. Okay, and they use a general data, often strings, as indexes. So one thing that we have to very clearly remember is hashes are in other languages. For example, in Python is another interpreter language. So there they are called as dictionaries. I think in Java they are also called as associative arrays, if you are aware of it. And so now what are the advantages of hashes and all, we will see further. And one thing, the most important basic concept with hashes is you can store a key value pair. I will tell you, instead of remembering this key value pair, the other easy of it is, as I told you, in other languages it is also called as dictionary. Why it is a dictionary? If you see, correlate with our general dictionary, right? So what will happen in our general dictionary, whenever you are looking at referring to a dictionary, normal dictionary, so what will happen? It will have some word, then equivalently it will have some meaning added to it, correct? And therefore it is something like there is a string and a value added string to that. So what that initial string is, how do we really go with, if at all we are searching for, let's say, student, the meaning of student in a dictionary. How do? You open the book and you go in alphabetical order, where you will look for where the series of S is starting with, then you will slowly compare in your brain after S, where is its T is coming, U, D, E. So then you will automatically go to the required page very quickly. That's how you do indexing in your brain. Now, once you go there, then you will see that there's a student and then the value to it. So here, the similarity of it to understand it, the analogy what I'm giving you is, here hashes or associative arrays, or otherwise called as dictionaries, are similar. All the values inside it are stored as basically what you call a key value, a key and a value pair. So what is a key? Basically student, if you are searching for student, the word, let's say, that is a key. So what is a value, what you want to assign to it? So for example, if you say student underscore name, so what will be the value we will give? Let's say some Bhaskar or some. Now college, JNTU. So you want to store a different records of students together and retrieve them whenever you want. So the easiest way is you store them in hashes. So how do we do it? I will show you the example as well. So what we do, we first define a key, then we'll define a value to it. So we'll say, let's say the name of the hash is student. Now I can have different key strings, namely, what are the key strings I can have? Name, age, roll number, college, year. So for each of these particular keys values or the key strings I just discussed, we can have parallelly a value assigned to it. For example, the name, some Bala, college, JNTU, roll number 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. And the most important thing that we have to remember in hashes is, whenever we want to print a hash or retrieve a hash, unlike arrays, in arrays, how do we retrieve elements? Using index, because each element has got index starting from 0 to n minus 1. But hashes does not have that. Only the option you can do is you have to use the name of that string that you want. For example, you want to know the name of a name, you want to retrieve the name in the hash called student. So you say student of name, it will print Bala, or student of college, it will print JNTU. That's how you will retrieve the values. We'll see an example on that, but just to go with the theory, I'm just telling this. So each elements in Perl hash do not have a natural ordering. That's what I have just discussed, because they don't have an index assigned to them, unlike in arrays. Therefore, when a list of keys is retrieved from a hash, there is no definite relationship between the order of the key and their values of the keys, or the order in which they were entered into the hash. So as I discussed just now, so if in the hash, if you have, let's say, name, roll number, college name. Now the moment you print it, it will not give you this order. It may give college name JNTU first, then it may give name Bala, then it may give the roll number. Or again, second time you print, it may give a different order. So every time it try to retrieve the data, it will not retrieve in the order what you have entered. So hash, how do we define, or how do you know or recognize that it is a hash variable? So with a character percentage. So whenever there is a percentage symbol that we use, like something like 100%, and what we use, right? In mathematics, we have percentage symbol. So that is the one which will help us to indicate if it is a hash. So if I have to just type, for example, some hash here in this PPT, I can say percentage student, and then this is how I can do it. So how do I assign the values and all? We will see later. So most of the time it is a curly braces. So if an array is assigned to a hash, the even index elements become keys and the odd index elements are corresponding values. So we'll see this again. So we also have an array which can be converted into a hash automatically. So assigning an odd length array to a hash causes error. So if you understand the above one, we can understand this particular statement. I'll discuss more on that. Curly braces are used to subscript the hash. So I just told, right? So we are generally using a curly brace. Okay. So percentage hash, for example, percentage h is a hash, like percentage student that I have defined here. Percentage h is what he is trying to define here. So this is a hash. Now, then the element corresponding to 4 is referred to as $4. So how do they generally store the elements? For example, I can have a single quote, for example, like this, and say name. I can have a value like this and say Bala. So this is how we can define multiple names. Roll number, and its value I'm assigning it as 1, 2, 3, something like this. So now this hash student, the example I've just discussed, is assigned with key value pairs. It has got 2 elements. Name is one key, roll number is another key. What is the value of it? It is used with the symbol to assign. Then Bala, then is the value for name, and 1, 2, 3 is the for roll number. Okay. Now, so whenever I want to access, let's say this hash and find out, as he just discussed here. So whenever I want this element to be retrieved, so how do I retrieve? As I told earlier, whenever a hash or an array, anything you want to retrieve, or when you are referring, it is referred in scalar context. So now, though you are using a percentage symbol here to initialize or define a hash, you want to retrieve something, a value, particular value of it, because each value is automatically a scalar value. So how do we define it? I'll say of name. So when I do this, or let's say when I do a print of this is a PPT, so I'll not be able to execute it, but we have to execute the program run, we can see this. So print of student name, the moment it says, what should be my output? The output it should print as Bala. This is how it should print. So because the value assigned to name is Bala. Similarly, you can use here roll number, then you can get that. So we also have different functions, how you can operate on hashes, so that we can, in a loop, you can retrieve all. As I already discussed, whenever you want to print a hash, like example, you want to print a student hash, the order that we have here is name and then roll number. But you may not, you may or you may not. In most of the cases, you will not see the same order. Initially, you may get roll number, then later you may get name, because it is not indexed. It doesn't have any index. That is the reason we always have to hold or know what a key is. Only when you know the key, you will be able to know the value. As I gave the analogy of a dictionary, when you know the name or what you want to search in a dictionary, then you can know the meaning of it. Correct? So whenever the manual dictionary that we use, right? So if you know what the word meaning you want to search, then that is a key with which you can search the entire dictionary and go to that particular word. Then only you'll be able to find the meaning. Similarly is the case here. Unless you know the key, you will not be able to retrieve the value of it and do any operations on it. Okay. Now, what is the second stanza here, or the second para says? If an array is assigned to a hash, even index elements become keys and odd index elements are, even index elements becomes keys and odd index elements are corresponding values. So generally we know that, right? Whenever we are defining a array, we have already discussed. For example, if I have array name student, no, let's not have student. It may get confused you between these two. So let's have test, some test array. So now how do I assign some elements to it? As we already discussed, I can have something elements like this, right? Because array is a list. I can also, as I already earlier told you, you can also have a string interpolated inside an array. This is called interpolation. You need not have to worry that, unlike C or any other some other languages, right? You need not have to worry that your array should be of the same data type. Here I can have integer, integer like 1, 2, 3, 4 are integers. Student is a string. So you can have a different. You can have an array within an array, nested arrays. So now what he is trying to tell in the below statement here, I'm just trying to explain about. So if array is assigned to a hash, so how many elements do we have here? If you look at the index of this, if I'm just trying to write the index of this test, just I'm trying to write what is the index of it? It will have 0, 1, 2, 3, and for student it is 4. So whenever we are trying to retrieve anything, how are we retrieving? We are saying dollar of test of, as I told you, whether it is a hash or whether it is a array. In the scalar context, whenever you want to retrieve a single value is always a scalar variable. Therefore, we have to indicate that as a scalar and then give the index here. So if I say index of, what is this index here? Let's say if I give index 1, dollar test of 1. So what is the index 1 referring to here? I just wrote it for your convenience. How the index is internally in the system, in the memory of the piece, in a program, it is how it is stores. So here dollar test of 1. Dollar test is what? It is trying to retrieve the scalar value of a array at the rate test. So now the moment 1 is assigned to what here? 2. So what will the output you get? You will get output as the moment I do a print of this, for example. So you will get the value output as 2. Yes, because here it is 2 here. Or instead of confusing you with these indexes, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is also with the similar, I will give something like 40, okay, 140, 23, 0, 1, 2, 3. I'll give 34. So we have 4 elements, right? We need to have 5 elements. We can have 46, for example. So now, what does the index here will refer to? Dollar test of 1 should give you how much? This is 0 index. This is 0 index. 23 here is referring to 1. So output should be 23. Now, what he is trying to tell is, whenever I want to assign at the rate of test, at the rate of test, which is an array. So we want to assign this to a hash student, for example. So now let's say this is no more there, or instead of test I will have new, an array new, so that I don't have to delete this example, array example. So now what he is trying to tell in this statement here is, whenever a percentage student is equal to at the rate new, so what we are doing here, we are assigning, maybe there is an array, let's say there is an array defined at the rate new, or let me do the same. Okay, I will use the same array test. So now what does the test contains here? 140, 23, 34, 46. So is it an even indexed array or odd indexed array? Let's see. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is even indexed. So what it will do automatically is, internally in the student, it will store 140 as a key, 23 as a value, 34 as a key, 46 as a value. But since, so this is an even index. So what is he telling? Even index is corresponding to key. Therefore, internally what it will store? It will store this as, it will automatically store this something like this. Let me take this as student 1, not to confuse you with the earlier example, because student already has some data. So now student 1 is equals to, internally how it will store? It will store 140 as a key. It will internally assign it something like this, 23 as the value for it. Okay. Similarly, 34, and then 46. Now, the point that clearly says is, now what will happen to the student? Student, it is an even index. So what is it like? Assigning an odd length array to a hash gives an error. Here he says not index, odd length. But what is the length of this? This is a assigning an odd length array to a hash will cause an error. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The length of this is what? This has got 4 elements. This is an even array. So when I have an even array, what is happening? This 2 got paired. This 2 got paired. Now the student is left alone. It doesn't have any key. So that will give you an error. So for that, what he is trying to tell is it should always have a one more element. So student, let's say it has got one more element, say hi. So automatically what will happen is here, this will not give you error if you do assign something like this. So it will take student, then it will give you hi. It will store that as a value to this. That's how it does. So I hope this point is now clear with the above examples. So curly braces are used to subscript a hash that we are already following it here. So what is the difference that we see with respect to arrays? We are using a simple braces. Whenever you are using hash, we are using a curly braces. Now changing a hash. Values can be assigned to a hash reference to insert a new key value relation or change the value related to a key pair. We have just seen. So how you can change a hash. For example, you have already hash defined here in this. How you can retrieve, I have just shown you. So $student of name. Now let's say that I don't want to have name as Bala. Now what you can do, I can assign another string like this. Say, let's say I can have some name like Nano, for example. So automatically I can have this name. So if I do this, automatically what will happen in the hash, if I try to print $student, it will give you Nano. So I can overwrite the existing value of a given key, something like with this assigning statement like this. So what here, if you see, I am also printing as well as assigning. We can do together. That is not a problem in Perl. So that's how you can change the values of an hash. So a key value relation can be removed from a hash with the delete operator. So there is something called a delete. So the moment I use a delete operator, delete of a name, if I give, automatically what it will give, it will delete that key value pair from it. So next time when you go and look into that hash, you will not find one key value. For example, here if I say delete of student of name, if I use something like delete, here if I say delete of this, okay, where I will remove this example here. The moment automatically, next time when you see, this will not be there anymore. Only you will see roll number and 1, 2, 3, the value of it. That's how you can use a delete operator as well. Now the untf operator will delete all the contents of a hash. So what is this untf operator? We already discussed there are, the moment you don't assign anything by default in Perl, in integer context, it can be treated as 0, and in a string context, it can be untf. Now, in a hash context also, the moment I say, for example, in the earlier example we have seen %student, which is nothing but a hash, correct? The moment I equate to untf, what it will do, it will erase or it will delete all the contents of the hash. Means it is trying to make everything empty. It is trying to point to a empty location. So the exists operator checks if a key is related to any value in a hash. So how do you know? For example, I have a hash like this. Now I don't know what are the keys in that, or I want to check if there is a key in that. What is the key? Let's say name. I can use this particular operator called or exists. The exists operator checks. So you can use something like $h of something. So here, what was our earlier example? $student of name. We can use that. Or if I try to search for a key which is not there as part of student. In the earlier example, what I said, student has got name, roll number. Now, if I try to search here, something like, is there any key by the name, student name, hall ticket, let's say, hall ticket. It will say, sorry, this key does not exist as part of the here $H. Actually, in our example, we should use $student. So we can say this does not exist. So we can use these inbuilt functions and check. So using exists operator, if exists, if it does not exist, so it will give you true or false. So hash variable embedded in a string is not interpolated. So what is it trying to tell? If at all you have a hash string, a hash variable embedded in a string, it is not interpolated. However, a reference to a hash element is interpolated. I told you already. A reference is something like a pointer with respect to C, if you see, right? If you look at the C language, there is something called pointers and all. So something like that, a similar concept, but not as tough as pointers. We have some concept called reference in Perl. So using a reference, you can always embed a given hash variable as part of your string. We'll see further on that as well. So the key operator returns a list of keys in a hash. The sort operator can also be applied to iterate through the keys in order. As we already discussed, the basic fundamental in hash is it is having a key value pair. The data inside a hash is stored as a key value pair, but at the same time, when you try to retrieve the data, it is not in order because it does not support any indexing. Therefore, the key operator, keys. So keys of, if I do a function something like keys of, if I say keys of something like, because keys, maybe it's an operator here. So if I say keys of hash, some hash, maybe our student here, for example, then automatically it will print all the keys. So in this example, student, what are the keys? Name is a key, roll number is a key, whichever are to the left of this particular arrow in a given pair. If I take this pair, all the left side ones are keys, or the right ones are values. So the sort operator can be also applied to iterate through the keys in order. So when you want to do some sorting in an alphabetical order, we can still use a sort operator on the top of keys. The moment you sort the keys, automatically their values will be sorted because they are mapped entities. They are tied together. A key value is always tied together. For example, what he's trying to do here, give here is a predefined hash percentage environment. If you look, this is a generally we can find this in Unix or Linux. Even in Windows, we have environment variables. So what he's trying to do is, if you go and look at your environment variables, you will see something called path. If you right click on my computer, go to properties, advanced, then you will see something called environmental variables. There also, if you see, there's something called path and all. So there, if you see all the values, because they're also stored as like a hash. That's what he's trying to describe here. Okay. So as I just discussed here, that's what I mentioned. Microsoft Windows environmental variables can be set through command line set arguments. You can set through command line. Unix also, you can use it using a Bourne shell. So that's just for information. So I just discussed a hash cannot be interpolated as part of a string directly, but you have to use a reference. Reference is something like a pointer in C is what I just referred. So how is it he's trying to discuss here? A reference is a scalar value giving the address of another value in the memory. A scalar value giving the address of another value in the memory. A reference to an existing variable is created by using a backslash operator. So we need not worry much. Something like in a pointer, assigning a pointer in C. I hope if you are all aware of C, you create a pointer variable, then you assign to which variable it is pointing to. And if required, we also have to find out how much memory we have to allocate, all such stuff in C. But here we don't have to worry on all those things. Reference to literal structures can be created. So a reference to a list is created by enclosing a list in a square brackets. For example, you have a list. Generally, how do I define a list? Say like this, for example. Now I want to have a reference created to this. So here $A is a list here. Why it is not an array? Because here is referring to a scalar variable here and assigning these values. So here, if at all we look here also, this is again a hash, and then he is assigning key values to this. Okay. Now what they can do is you can always use a backslash. The backslash operator is nothing but this one, your backslash, right? So sorry. So this is a backslash. So you can just use this backslash as a reference to this. How we can do, we'll see. So to access a value pointed by a reference, the programmer must explicitly dereference the reference. So that is true, correct? Wherever you are trying to reference something, whenever you want to access that value for printing or doing some operations, you should dereference. So an extra dollar sign can be used. So how they are doing, he's showing an example. If $A is equal to 5 and $B is equals to backslash of $A. So here, if you look at this example, $A is a scalar variable. Now we are assigning a value of 5. Now $B, if I want to use that as a reference variable to $A, how I should do, as I discussed earlier, you just use backslash operator, which is nothing but a reference variable. And then what is the variable you want to point this to? $A. Automatically what will happen? $B will refer to value inside a $A. Now, but how do I retrieve it? As I discussed earlier, you have to use an extra dollar sign. Use an extra dollar sign to indicate. So he's using $B, then automatically it will print. If I use print $B, it will print the value 5 because $B is referring to the value in the variable $A. Therefore, whatever is the value of $A, it is retrieving. Now, if you see one more interesting thing, $B is equal to 7 changes the value of $A to 7 because they are all pointing to the memory location. They are not pointing to just a copy of it. They are directly pointing to the $B is pointing to the memory of it. Therefore, whatever the operations you do on $B, automatically it will reflect, and next time when you try to print $A, it will print 7 because you are changing it here. So $A also will retrieve you 7. Okay. So in a reference to an array, this particular symbol can be used between a reference and the index to the indicated dereference. So what does this mean? If it is a normal scalar variable, we are just using an assignment operator and using a reference variable. Now in this context, if you see $R is a scalar variable and then it is now referencing to an array. What is the array name? At the rate of list. This is one array. Correct? Whatever I am highlighting there, at the rate of list. Now the moment I use the backslash, it is trying to reference that. So now whenever I do some operations on $R, automatically they are reflected in the array. Now the moment I see $R of 3, what it should give me? It should give me the 0, 1, 2, 3. That is the fourth element of the list. So is the element at the index 3 of the list. Now index 3 is nothing but the fourth element. Okay. Now what I am trying to tell is $R of this is 3 is also an element at the index of this list. Instead of using this way, you can also refer or print it like this. So that is what he was trying to specify. What is this? Is like arrow mark. I think if it is not clear in this print, here it is nothing but a hyphen and a greater than symbol. This is the arrow. So you can dereference as long as this is an array element. You can dereference using this symbol as well instead of $R. That's what he's trying to tell you. Excuse me. Excuse me. Now, so we have seen so far what is a scalar, what is an array, what is a hash, which are the fundamental building blocks of the Perl. And then we have also seen what are the different control statements we have, the different control expressions we have, the if-else statements, while loop, the for loop. The first statement we otherwise call it as for each, how you can use for each on an array. All these different things we have seen in the earlier classes till date. And then we have now seen today what is a hash, how you refer a hash, how you assign an array to a hash, and then how you retrieve the elements in a hash, how you add an element in a hash, what are the key value pair in a hash, how you can dereference, how you have to use a reference value, how you can add a reference to an array, how you can add a reference to a given variable, scalar variable, how you can add a reference to a hash, how do you dereference them, all we have seen so far. Now the next part and the most interesting thing, what we require is fundamentals of function fundamentals. So basically what is a function? I think every programming language, they don't go without a function. Whenever you want to write a set of code which does take some input and give you some output, maybe that we can define that as a function. So a function definition consists of a function header and the body. That is common in every language, whether it is an interpreter language or a programming language, where it's a C or Java. Everywhere we have always a function with a header and a body to it. So the body is a block of code that executes when a function is called. We already discussed. So what you want to do, what you want that function to do, as I discussed I think in the first class, let's say you have some function called add. Now you want to, how you define it, we will see. It will vary with respect to each language, how you are defining its header, how you are defining its arguments, whether they take, referencing parameters, how that is all we will see. And they may vary with respect to language, but conceptually they're all same. So a body is a block of code, what will do what we intend for. I mean, a programmer or a developer should write this block of code, what his function should do for him. If you say add of two numbers, $a, $b. So internally you will write a code saying $c is equal to $a plus $b, and you will return an output, let's say $c, which will give me the sum of two numbers. So the moment somebody wants a function, you will do that, you will get it. So that's how you will write based on your necessity. You will define your logic in your function. So the header contains the keyword sum and the name of the function. As I just discussed, every programming language will have their own way of defining a function, whether how they are defined and all. So in this example, if you see here, what is it header consists of? If you see here, he's telling this is how you define sum, let's say add. I can have something like this. Now I can also have some variables to them, or they may not have any variables to it. Something like this I can define. So always a sum is a keyword which will allow the Perl interpreter to identify that this is the starting of a function. Wherever you have sum, whenever you have to call this function, you don't have to use this. Whenever you are trying to, defining this function, you want to write a block of code here. So here, the body of the function. This is how you define it. As example I told you, right? For example, $c is equals to $a plus $b. Okay. So then I could also have a return statement. Then I can also have return $c. It can return an expression. It can return a single value, whatever it is. So here, because it's a body of the function is a commit, I should use this. So I'm just trying, it's a PPT, so don't go with exact values here. So this is how I can have a function like this. So what do you want to do? You want to multiply. You can name this as a multiply and use this. I already told you earlier that Perl does not support any operator overloading, unlike some other, maybe C and all, they have operator overloading. What was our operator overloading? The plus symbol here can be used, is generally used for adding two integers. The same plus symbol, if it is used in the string context, then it will concatenate. But in Perl, we don't have such. So therefore, operator overloading is not supported. Therefore, even for concatenation, you have a separate operator called dot or the period. Correct? Similarly, for multiplication, we don't use star. I mean, for repetition, I'm sorry. For multiplication, we use star. For repetition of anything, generally we have to use x of whatever it is. That I already discussed. Just For you to recap, I'm just trying to tell that here. Therefore, here it is using a pure addition. You want to add multiplication, you can write here multiply function and you put here star. Okay, a function declaration consists of a keyword sum. That's what I just showed it here. And a declaration promises a full definition somewhere else. Even if you don't have a body here, the moment you have a declaration here, it indicates that it will try to fetch for this particular function where the body is written. A function call can be part of an expression. In this case, the function must return a value that is used in the expression. So what does that mean? A function can be part of expression. Something like interpolation. So whenever you have an expression, you can use, let's say, what is an expression? If, for example, if say if I'm using this. Now I can use add, because my function there add, I think it have a capital A. So if I can say 2, 3, these are the variables if I'm giving, is greater than add of 4, 5. So this is basically an expression. What is trying to tell is a function can be part of expression. Here, if you look into this, actually, this is what? An expression. Add if, generally what is that? What will if do? It will try to see whatever inside this particular simple parenthesis is evaluating to true or false. If it is evaluates to true, it will try to proceed to this block of code. Otherwise, it will not. Now, as this particular statement says, a function can be a part of an expression. Here, this is an expression because I'm using a relational operator here to try to check whether this output of this function is greater than this function. So here 2 plus 3 is 5, 4 plus 5 will return me 9. So how does it evaluate internally? For example, so if of, I'm just writing it here. So how does it evaluate? It will try to check. Add 2 of 3 means it will give you 5. Then it will try to also get add 4 of 5. It will give to check. So is it true? No. Therefore, it will not get into this particular if statement. Something like that. So you can use as part of an expression like this as well. Okay. So that's what it means. A function call can be part of expression. In this case, the function must return a value. So if I have no return value here in my definition, what will happen? It cannot compare here. Because if I, for example, let's say I comment this. So if at all I have a comment here and let's say the comment does not return, what does the comment means? It is not part of the code anymore, correct? So now, if this function is not returning anything, obviously it will not have any single value to compare. That is the reason he's saying whenever you want to use a function call within a given expression, then it should always have a return value, which is very, very important. A function call can be a standalone statement. In this case, the return value is not required. If there is one, it is discarded. So it can be a standalone value, right? You don't have to be part of expression. I can say just add, or I'd say, let's say print add. So does it require return statement? No. Whatever it is there here, for example, if it doesn't use any return statement also, if I have print $C this function return, the body of the function, automatically it will print that. So this is what the last statement says. A function call can be standalone statement. In this case, the return value is not required. If there is one, it is discarded. Even if I have the return value, it will be discarded. It will just print what is the value there. Okay. So a function return, that's what. And when a function is called, the body begins executing at the first statement. And a return statement in a function body causes the function body to immediately cease executing. So what is the importance of return statement? It is used to return some value back to the main program if required, or otherwise whenever you are using return, the compiler or the interpreter knows that, okay, the function body is ending. It has already ended here. Therefore, I have to exit this particular function. So if the execution of a function reaches the end of the body without encountering a return statement, the return value is the value of the last expression evaluated in the function. So for our ease, or maybe because sometimes you will be expecting some return statement, if you have not used return, your function, but still it may not give you any error, because Perl internally, what is it doing? It is trying to treat whatever is the last expression. For example, in the earlier example, I think here, as I showed you here, right? If I comment this return function here, but still whatever is the last statement here, even let's comment print here. Now, what is the last statement from the start of the body to the end of the body? Even I have commented print as well as the return statement. So what is the last expression? $C is equal to $A plus B. So what it does do by default, if the execution function reaches the end of the body without encountering a return statement, the return value is the value of the last expression evaluated in the function. Therefore, when I do a print here, when I do just a print of add without using a print function internally, it will still, if I even remove this, for example, because there is no return, it will treat the value of this last expression in this body as the last value that the function is returning, and it will print here what is value of $C. Hope this is clear. So the return statement also has an expression, the value is returned as the value of the function, otherwise the function returns no value. So what you can do, internally you can try to, if you want to have evaluate something complex, or you want to just use this, you don't want to have multiple lines of code, what you can do, let's say this is the body of the function, I can directly say return, okay, of this expression. I can do this as well. So what it will do, what it will evaluate or this expression, we have already seen the order of precedence. So it will see here we have a plus operator, it will add these two, it will assign the value whatever it gets to the variable on the left side, and it will return that value. So you can have a bigger expression like this as part of a return statement. That's what it means. You want to finish everything in one single line, you can do that. So that's what this clearly says. So now local variables again. So whatever we are defining so far in Perl, whenever I say $X, $Y, $A, $B, whatever, or at the rate array or at percentage hash, whatever we are defining, they are global variables. You can use them entirely in anywhere of your part of your program. Unlike in C, they are not local variables. In C, generally, if you don't define it, at a particular area of your start of your program, above the main, if you define, they are global variables. Below the main, generally they are all local variables. Excuse me. But whereas it is reverse of it actually. In Perl, whatever we are defining $A, $B, by default you do, they are all global variables. But the moment you want to say, no, this is a local variable, I want to use only for myself, I don't want to give to any other function to use this, then you have to use a keyword called my. The moment I use, let's say, my $X is equal to 10, and if there is a function, let's say sub of add, or let's say multiply, and if in this body of this function, he will not be able to access what is $X. $X is completely defined as some other variable here, because this variable is local and it is out of scope of this function. But the moment, so far we have seen from the start of the Perl class, the moment I say $X is equal to 10, still here this $X is same as this $X. But the moment I define it as my, it can't be accessed by anybody else. It can be only outside this kind of functions or any function calls. Similarly, I can have a global variables like this most of the time, and whenever this function internally I want to have a local variable, I can use my $X, where this X is different from this X because it is preceded by my. Okay. So if a local variable has the same name as a global variable, the global variable is not visible within the function body. Perl also supports a form of dynamic scoping using a local declaration, as my declaration has lexical scope, which works like scope rules in C, C++, and Java. That's what I just told. So it has a lexical scope. So what does it mean? Whenever you have my, it is only within the block of that code. even if you just say, there is no function here for example, but you just define something like this, just a block you have defined like this specially, still it will not have a syntax error. Even then this variable is within this block, it can't be accessed by this variable. If I say $x is equal to 20 and print $x within the scope of this, it will still give me output as 20. But the moment I am out of this braces and do print $x, because it is now have to access the global variable, it will print the output as 10. Hope this is clear. Now, parameters used in a function are called actual parameters. Formal parameters are the names used in the function body to refer the actual parameters. So what is formal, what is actual? This is same as other languages. I think our earlier example when I've used, let us reference it back. So here, whenever I define this function, sum, add, excuse me. So here in this $A and $B, this is part of the function declaration. So these are called formal. But what actually being used internally here? This can be still $x and $y because they will automatically copy what they are. So, or if I say $VAB and $B here, whenever I am using a function call, whenever I am using function call here. So here, instead of a direct 2 and 3, I can still have a some $x is equal to 2, $y is equal to 3, and they are actually the formal parameters. But what actually are inside the body of this function, they are the actual parameters. Okay, that's what he means here. So Perl supports both pass by value and pass by reference. We'll see further to it what exactly they are, and then we will have to move to CGI programming as well. And now I think logically we'll end the point here with the functions and the variables that we have discussed with respect to the functions, and then move further. Okay. Thank you one and all. Have a good day.